Who are the top 5 Premier League midfielders this season? Let's find out. Hello, today's show we are going to rank the top 5 Premier League midfielders in terms of form this season with stats, facts and opinion firmly invested in this, which should make it a tasty list. Towards the end, I'm going to reveal the surprise package who I think has gone under the radar so far and the reasons why I haven't included him in the list just yet. Also, if you think the international break has been absolutely dog turd, make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel and get involved with the list because I want to hear yours. So what is the criteria that makes the list then? Let's say, for example, if you're filtering a search on whatever it is, the AFC or whatever, what are we specifically looking for and what is going to go on this list that I'm about to create? So we're not going to have any attackers on there, any attacking midfielders, your 10s, your Bruno's, Odegaard, anything like that. Only the Makelele or De Jong type positions. That's your 6s and your 8s, essentially, is what we're going to do. Now, like I said, this is purely Premier League this season. So before people start getting the knickers in a twist in the comment section, okay, just remember how many times I have said that. This season in the Premier League. Yeah? With me? Let's do it. So, with careful consideration, in at number 5, I have gone Alexis Allister. I think he's been outstanding for Liverpool. Hasn't taken any time to get used to his new team. Settled right into the position. Into a position that he's played before at Brighton, but not his usual position. He was more advanced. I know just under 40% of his games had been played as like a 6 in that holding role. But yeah, he's gone into Liverpool, and all things considered, considering it's a brand new revamp of this midfield, I think has been, sensational. He's probably their best midfielder at the moment, bought for a very good price. I think 35-40 million is an absolute steal for Allister. Decent age profile. His all-around game is fantastic. He gets stuck in. He's technically sound. His first touch is amazing, which is an underrated skill in itself. Someone like a Thomas Muller, for example, his fundamentals of football is what got him to the places where he's at. He's not necessarily amazing at one thing or the other. He's got a well-rounded game, and I'd say the same for Alexis Allister. He manipulates the ball well, can play at different velocities, recycling the possession with low-tempo passes, slowing it down, or timing the attack and accelerating the play in the final third. His most impressive display was Bournemouth. I don't know if anyone remembers this game. 4-0, created the most chances out of any Liverpool player, won the most duels out of any player on the pitch, and registered the most ball recoveries, and won 5 of his 7 tackles. That was a standout performance for Allister. In terms of what his output this season, and we're going to talk statistics, 3 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League, 2 big chances created, 1.2 key passes per game, 1.2 interceptions per game, 2.8 tackles per game, 5.9 balls recovered per game, total duels won 5.7, which is 50%, and successful dribbles 0.7, which is 64% as well. A high-level midfielder who is only going to get better, and what a steal from Liverpool. But number 5, people will argue we could go maybe higher up on the list. For me, he sits there at number 5, which is still a decent position. In at number 4, Bruno Guimarães has been the glue that is holding this stripped Newcastle team together. And I have to say, I've always rated him, even at his days at Lyon, when Newcastle was getting linked to Man United were getting linked. And I remember the price tag that was floating around, about 40 million quid. I was like, that is an absolute steal, and United should be all over this. He's got everything in his game to play multiple positions. He's got the right temperament. I know he kicks off at times and he gets stressed out, and he seems like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, especially this season. But he has got the quality to play at big clubs, I'm telling you. And he'll probably end up leaving Newcastle. I'm sorry, I know that Newcastle fans don't want to hear that. But yeah, another thing to kind of play into, and people are saying he's had a worse season this season, and the stats don't back that up. I'm going to get into them in a moment. But also, an important thing to remember, much like United, Newcastle have had an injury hit team this season. No Tonali behind him, or to rotate with him in them positions. No Joe Linton alongside him. He's having Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff either side. Sean Longstaff can't defend. Lewis Miley's fresh, just coming into the game, talented youngster, but no leadership in that midfield. So he is quite literally holding everything together. He's unable to peacock as a player. And I describe it as like Spider-Man, when he's got the webs like that and he's trying to hold is it the 2 trucks or lorries? I can't remember what it is. I'll insert an image. You know exactly what I'm on about. So, yeah. And, traditionally, Newcastle fans, they are passionate. They ask for certain things from the players. They want you to give everything to the club, be very good at football, and have that kind of unconditional loyalty. And these are 3, highly sought after qualities generally throughout the game that a lot of fan bases want and a lot of clubs want. But you have all of this with Bruno Guimarães, and we're going to dive into his stats now. So in the Premier League in 22-23, he averaged 53.7 passes per 90 minutes with an accuracy of 84.6%. That has now increased to 62.5 passes per 90 and an accuracy of 86.6% this season, so an improvement. His creativity is basically identical, creating 1.38 chances per 90 last season and 1.42 this season, while his tackles per 90 is slightly down from 2.6 per 90 to 2.3, so that's one metric that's fallen a little bit. If we start to dive deeper into Bruno Guimarães' numbers, he's covered the second furthest distance per 90 of any Newcastle player this season, only behind Sean Longstaff. That is the 19th highest in the Premier League of those who have played at least 1,500 minutes. So that is honourable in itself. He's also facing the most pressures in England's top flight this season, a defensive action in which a player whose team is out of possession moves closer down on an opposition player in possession. Guimarães leads the Premier League for being pressured while in possession 807 times, ahead of Man City's Rodri 793 and significantly ahead of Aston Villa's Ezri Konsa in third place at 579. He's got 3 goals and 5 assists in the Prem, 8 big chances created, 1.5 key passes per game, 0.9 interceptions per game, 2 tackles per game, 6.1 balls recovered per game, total duels won 7.3, which is 57%, and successful dribbles is 1.8, 65%. Pretty impressive stats. He is quite simply their engine, their heart, and their skill rolled into one player. He's Newcastle's most important player, in my opinion, at least. But again, Newcastle fans, get involved. Where should he be on the list? Let me know. In at number 3, another Brazilian, Douglas Luiz. What a phenomenal season he is having. 9 goals and 5 assists in the leagues. And I know a lot of them have been penalties. And I know as a central defensive midfielder, they're not the stats that you should be showing, but that is still very impressive. He's got more key passes than the best players in the league. Some of the players I've not even mentioned yet. And more big chances created as well, which is super impressive. Deployed usually in a double pivot alongside Boubacar Kamara. He started every league game for Villa this season, every league game, which again, sometimes durability is one of the most overlooked traits in football, in my opinion. Since his arrival in 2019, he's made more appearances for Aston Villa 149 times than any other player. He's not missed a single game through injury. And it is cliche to say, but sometimes the best ability is availability. It's mega important. And that is a theme that can be kind of sung around Old Trafford for our team, because we haven't had any availability whatsoever. He's Villa's primary ball winner in centre of the park. Only Kamara has won more tackles than Luiz this season. And the pair each have a tackle success rate of 66.7%, which is super impressive. In similar fashion, Luiz has won back possession for Villa more often, 7.3 times per 90, than any other teammate. He's standing out. A highlight of this was the performance against Crystal Palace, where he broke a record. He won the ball back on 16 separate occasions, the highest of any mark any player has hit in that category so far this season in the entire top flight division. And then we have the base stats, which I've done for each player, which, just as like a form of comparison. So I mentioned at the start of this kind of almost like shrine for Douglas Luiz, 9 goals, 5 assists in the Prem. 9 big chances created, 1.6 key passes per game, 0.6 interceptions per game, 1.9 tackles per game, balls recovered 5.7, total duels won 4.5, which is 53%, and then successful dribbles 0.8, 64%. He is right up there. I think he's going to get a massive move. Not move, what? I think he's going to get a massive move. I think a top 4 club in Europe, or at least he could go to a decent side in Europe as well, that extra step. I'm not saying Villa aren't a big club, but I'm talking, maybe a Juventus or someone like that goes in for him. I think he is a top player. I really, really do. He's the best Brazilian midfielder in the league right now. He's above Casemiro and Guimarães for me, at least. So, yeah, what a fucking season he's having. And then we get to the cream of the crop. This one was tough because both players have had amazing seasons and both have been really instrumental, and both are still going to the wire. But at number 2, I have gone with, Arsenal fans, close your ear, Declan Rice. Now, Declan Rice has gone from playing restricted football at West Ham, where he was shining in this setup where he was at. But you could always tell that he had a little bit more to his game. As soon as he's gone to Arsenal, he's becoming one of their best players. And if they win the league this season, he has had a massive say on that, and it's probably because of him. He's bagging goals, he's taking set pieces, he's driving the team up the pitch, he's scoring last-minute winners like he did against Luton. He's only just become a vet. I've changed this, by the way. I had Rice first initially, and then I deeped it, and I was like, no, he has to go second. but he's a very close second to Rodri in terms of his form, his impact as a signing, what he's bringing to Arsenal, which I've already touched on, and his stats are almost identical to Rodri's as well. 6 goals and 5 assists, the exact same. He's been available every game, just like Rodri, played 86 minutes on average per game, 28 starts. He's got 5 big chances created. Rodri has 1 more. 1 key passes per game. Rodri has 1.4. 1.2 interceptions per game, which is better. 2 tackles per game. Rodri's 2.2. 4.8 balls recovered per game. Rodri's is 7. Successful dribbles is 0.5 for Rice, which is surprisingly worse than Rodri's. And then total duels won for Rice is 4.1 and Rodri's is 6.0 at 70%. So almost every metric there, which has kind of swayed me a little bit as well, Rodri's is better. So I think he is very, very close to him. I genuinely believe that. Like, there's not much difference between it. In terms of, like, style, there is. But, I mean, in terms of what they're doing for both teams, both neck and neck at the minute, when you look at it like that. I think much like Arsenal at the moment, the second to Man City, only just in terms of a team, how they play, the manager being a former assistant. You see the reoccurring theme here. He is second to Rodri, but only just. And like I said, in at number 1, it's Rodri. He is the most important player in the best team in the world, the oil in that engine, excuse the pun, and when he's missing, they completely drop off. If you look at any of the stats related to this, they'll tell you that. I'm sure when he was injured earlier on in the season, when he got his red card early on in the season, they had like 4 games and they only won 1 or 2 out of the 4. He scored a lot of clutch goals, especially, I know it's only just to this season, but last season, this season, he scored some big goals in the biggest competitions, and you can't ask for more than that, especially from a midfielder as well. He's currently setting a record that whilst Rodri has been in the team, they have gone unbeaten in 59 games. 59 games, which is the longest streak for an individual player, I think. Then the stats I mentioned before, 6 goals, 5 assists in the Prem, 6 big chances created, 1.4 key passes, 0.8 interceptions, 2.2 tackles per game, 7 balls recovered per game, total duels won 6.0, 60%, and successful dribbles 1.1, 70%. He is a platinum standard midfielder when it comes to a defensive midfielder. Obviously, their statistics don't tell the whole story, and we should probably be careful in judging a player's performance or making a comparison on just numbers, but they do help kind of shape a narrative that supports their impact for the respective teams. For me, he still holds the title as the best defensive midfielder, not just in the league, but probably on the planet at this current moment, and will also probably go down, as one of the greatest midfielders the Premier League's ever seen. Is that a strong statement? I don't think so. Now, we have the surprise package. Let's do the gift opening. Kobbie Mainoo. If he had been playing all season, I genuinely believe this. This isn't red tinted glasses, whatever you want to call it. He would be a contender on this list. He has been a shining light in a struggling Manchester United team at the age of 18 years old. He's scoring last minute winners with a caliber like the Wolves goal, which is just like something that would be on repeat. It's a goal in a month, winner. He's bossing the pitch at places like Galatasaray, which is one of the toughest grounds in Europe, if not the toughest. Goodison Park after the Premier League points deduction. Anfield, he did it against Liverpool in the FA Cup recently, where he was just gliding across the pitch and sending players from meal deals left, right and centre. The composure, the natural ability, the range of passing, the dribbling technique, the football intelligence is right up there, and his ceiling is massive, absolutely massive. We only have a small sample size at the moment, don't we? I think he's played like 15 games for United. But I am telling you now, there is a reason why Man City was sniffing around this player, because he could walk into that team, or at least could play a decent amount of games for them, because he's tailor-made for it, as much as that kills me to say. And I genuinely mean that as a compliment, as much as I hate Man City. If we didn't have him this season, we would have been fucked in a lot of games, and that says a lot about an 18-year-old kid. It really, really does. Like, it's almost unheard of at times. I know there's one player who's gone to Getafe, Mason Greenwood. Not saying similar thing here, but like similar talent level where it's undeniable they have to play. And maybe you could throw Garnacho into that category as well. He recently had his England debut where again came on and showed why he should be ahead of Conor Gallagher, who for 60, 70 minutes was stinking out the place. Mainoo came on and showed him how to play that role. So for me, he has to go to the Euros and play with Rice and Bellingham, but I don't think, Southgate will. And I think that'll be Southgate's downfall. But he is an ultra-talented player who is going to be considered in this list next season, hands down. So let me know your thoughts on this list. Did I get it right, or do you disagree with any of them? Get it in the comments section. Smash a like on the video and subscribe to Real Reds Talk. See you in the next one.